Well, good morning. I'm so glad you guys were able to come and be live. For those of you who are unable to be live, welcome, welcome, welcome. We want you to go ahead and give feedback as needed through the different channels. But today we're talking about anchoring. And within anchoring, there is some stuff that we're going to learn in sessions 4 and sessions 5. So please try your best to attend those sessions as well, because some of this might make a little more sense and you can go a little deeper. But anchoring, let's just kind of dive right in. Uh, in psychology, anchoring is more of a you anchor to the first thing that happens. And that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about with anchoring in the practice called NLP, if those of you not familiar, it's neuro-linguistic programming. And what we're doing is really rewiring, retraining the brain to be quickly responsive. And anchoring is one of the easiest tools, I feel, to do that. Now, sometimes I think something is easy, and just because it's easy for me doesn't mean it's easy for you. So if you have more questions, I highly recommend signing up for the retreat or getting some individual sessions from Don or myself, and we will help you walk along the way of learning anchoring and being able to say the same thing. So easy. Okay. So if you think of, I'm assuming because we're taught this in school, but the Pavlovian instinct, the Pavlov was a scientist and he did the bell with the dog. Everybody remember that? Not sure. But what happened was dogs naturally salivate to the smell of meat. He used this meat powder. His dogs were salivating, and he's like, I wonder if I can give another outside stimulus to help train a dog. Sounds easy enough. So every time he brought the dog into the test area and there was meat powder there, the dog would salivate. He added the sound of a bell. So as soon as the meat powder was introduced, the sound of the bell was introduced. Simultaneously, the dog would be salivating because he smells the meat powder. Eventually, the meat powder was removed, and at the sound of a bell, the dog began to salivate with the same enzymes and secretion as if the meat were present. Voila! That is an example of anchoring that we've all learned along the way, but we do it a little different. We don't have bells. We can. We don't. We don't generally have a meat powder to induce the sensation. We can, but that's not what we're doing today. We're going to just use our memory. That is a very strong memory that elicits a sense, and it could be a sense of smell. It could be a sense of touch. It could be something we visualize. I'm a high visual, high kinesthetic learner. So most of the stuff that comes up for me is something I see and a feeling of touch that I recall. So if anybody today want to kind of check in and say like, do you know if you're primarily a visual learner or an auditory learner or kinesthetic learner? Anyone in the audience?
I'm more visual. More visual. Okay.
More visual, Cheryl?
Mhm.
Good.
Yeah, I'm visual too.
Okay, great. Awesome. And Dawn, do
I'm
you
very,
know?
I'm very kinesthetic.
Yeah. Us body workers tend to be highly kinesthetic.
Yep. Sense
Um,
of touch or something, or anything physical, right? Feeling.
right, right. But generally, if we're thinking five senses, we think touch. So, what I want for you to do today is just be aware of that as we talk about, thank you. Sorry, my whole thing wasn't popping up. I want you to think about the primary sense that you experience in order to learn. Because we want to tap into the easiest thing. When you tap into the easiest thing, it becomes more quickly ingrained in you. So when we talk about anchoring, we're going to talk about the positive part of pulling in a memory that we have in the past and bringing it into our current state of being. And this is where I talked about, we're going to talk a lot more about state in week 5. But state, it's an emotional state. When you wake up on Christmas morning and you're a toddler or a little kid, generally you have a happy state, excited state, you're exuberant. You can remember that feeling as an adult if you had a lot of fun in your Christmas experiences, or the first time you got a new job in your career and you're like, oh, just fluttering inside in your chest, and you're like, I get to do the thing I really want to do in life. Those feelings are a state, an emotional state. And if you're seeing it, you might see yourself opening a present. You might see yourself walking into work in your new outfit. All of those things work. So, visual, kinesthetic, smelling. You might smell the pine of the tree in your memory. You might smell the leather in your car. You might smell the fresh brewing coffee. But all of those things, yes, and here, thank you, Don. And your auditory. So visual, auditory, kinesthetic, taste, touch, all of those come up. But visual, auditory, and kinesthetic are your primary ones that will elicit. Clearly, auditory is not even on my radar most of the time.
We all have our dominant and our not so dominant ones.
Right, right. Which is interesting for me, and why in the workbook I've included an area for you to put your thoughts on. I've got an area within the workbook that has roots and a big tree, a little sketch area. Because as a primarily kinesthetic learner, when I pick up a pen while I'm learning and just move my hands, I'm engaging my learning ability with the pen. So that as a kinesthetic learner is a tool that I use while someone's talking so that I more deeply comprehend. So hearing, you may hear the sound of horns honking as you're moving in traffic. You may hear the sound of the crinkling of paper, may hear the sound of the coffee pot whirring or the grinds making that sound as the grinder grinds the beans, all of those things. So think of those things when you think of a memory and how it responds best in you, and try to get really into that space. Like visualize, hear, smell, everything that is a memory that you tie to.
Mhm.
And that will serve you well when anchoring a new positive emotion. But I don't want to just leave it at that, because a lot of times if we're trying to change the emotional state that we're in, we have a negative emotion we're trying to get rid of. And so you may be combating with, but this is how I feel. I'm upset, I'm anxious, I'm worked up, you don't understand what's going on, and you're feeling all of that, and you don't know how to release it. So a visual for me that I use, learned this in a meditation class, was to picture, I don't know if you've ever been or seen on TV, but there's these conveyor belt of a sushi bar. And if that's familiar, so the sushi just goes around in a conveyor belt. Behind, there's a little sushi guy making little pieces of sushi, puts it up on a little plate, and this conveyor belt just goes by. And you are sitting there and you get to eat the sushi as it goes by. There's no way you can eat all of the sushi at one time. You can't just be like, grab it all. It would be a chaotic mess. And inevitably, you would miss stuff because it's on a conveyor belt and it continues to move by. And so, if you look at your emotion that you're experiencing on the conveyor belt, you can look at it and say, I'm going to let that pass by. I'm just going to let that pass by. It doesn't mean it's going away. It doesn't mean you can't address it at some other time. It's just going to let that pass by. And it come around again. You're like, oh, you're still there. Nice. You can let that pass by. Now, along the way, somebody else might pick up that emotion and it's not yours anymore, right? They pick up that piece of sushi. The release that you've had, the universe, energetically, that might just get picked up and gone. And how easy is that to be able to release your emotion by just letting it go? The word letting go can be challenging, but it doesn't mean that you're ignoring the importance of that memory or emotion coming up. It means for now, you're just going to put it on the back burner. If you're making a big dinner and you've got several burners on the stove, and now it's time for the main course, you've already dealt with your side dish and prepared it, and it's just simmering in the background. You don't pay attention to it. You just pay attention to the dish in front of you because you know you've done the work in the back, or you know you can get back to it later. So it's another visual. Just put it on the back burner. Take whatever emotion it is and just minimize it. So in session 4, we're going to talk about body scanning. We're going to talk about how things feel within our body. We're going to see how we can make them smaller and larger and move things within our eyes and our memory. So go ahead and just bring it down, close it up, darken it enough that you can't see it, make it so bright that it blows out and you can't see it. Whatever works, real quick, just release that emotion. So anchoring and releasing. Does that make sense? Is everybody kind of on the same page as far as like, I get what it means to bring something in and I get what it means to let something go. So we're going to change ourselves up a little bit, take a deep breath. And I want to just enter in right now with the last half of this session with practicing a quick release and then anchoring. So the quick release is something that bothered you this morning. You got up and your tummy didn't feel well. You got up and you had less time than you thought you might have. You got up and who knows, maybe you got up and had a great day and it's not this morning, but within the last 2, 3 days, you probably had something that was a little irritant that might still be hanging on. You feel like you need to watch it go down the conveyor belt. Just let it go. So that's the first thing we're going to do is just take a deep breath. We're going to use these tools that we have built up on over the last few weeks to get ourselves into this transitional ability to anchor. Okay, so just take a deep breath. I want you to rewrite that story. You know, it was great this morning when I woke up. I was a little more tired than usual, and I noticed my time went faster than I wanted. But the good news is I've practiced hopping online quickly so much. I'm here, and it's no big deal. So take that time, release, and now we're going to anchor. This is the fun part. Okay, so everybody be present and now. What I want you to do is put your hands up, and I want you to use the hands. For me, the easiest anchor is to use this knuckle right here and put your thumb underneath and your finger on top. Okay? So that anchor, this is not something we do on a regular basis, most of us. So this anchor is a really good one. Now you can choose any knuckle. You could go into your earlobe. You could go onto your collarbone. Honestly, you can go anywhere that is unique. So the 3 elements, and this is in your worksheet, of anchoring is to make sure that it is very specific. And when you anchor at what's called peak emotion, and we'll get into that in just a second, that peak state. You need to anchor a memory that's very specific, not mornings I do this thing. No, yesterday morning when I woke up and I moved the paper towel rack that was in front of my bag of beans, a glass fell and it scared me. Or yesterday morning when I moved the paper towel roll and I opened my bag of beans, oh, the smell of those beans just brought me into pure bliss. So you can recall either way. We want you to recall on the positive side right now. So dig in to find a memory. So that's a very specific memory. And then the other point is, like I said, the anchoring point. It should be unique enough that it's not something you do every day. So like if you tend to rub your shoulder, anchoring on your shoulder won't really work. You want it to be unique enough where when you want that emotion to come back into your state, get yourself excited, you just tap it. You don't really have to think about it anymore. You don't have to go, I remember this time when. You've already pulled the emotion in and you are there. by anchoring. Okay, if that makes sense, we got thumbs up, little positive heart emojis. We got it going. All right, good, good.
I just want to
Yes.
say one thing because you keep referencing the workbook. So for people that are online now, I dropped the workbook into the chat. So it's in a Google Drive. You can access it now or anytime. You don't actually have to grab it right now for this process, but just so you know what Cynthia's talking about. And for those that are on video, I will have it either next to the video or in the YouTube video, depending upon if you're looking at the YouTube link. For our VIP people that are going into the resources, it's under the resources there. And just to add one more thing, anchoring is all about, there's a stimulus in the brain where when there's an intense emotion and you touch a body part, the two neurologically get linked. So the purpose of this is when we really bring up a really happy, joyful, fun, playful, excited emotion and we touch that spot, we neurologically link that spot. And so then later, when we're not feeling super happy, we can watch everything go by on that sushi line, and then we can go and hold that same spot and bring back that emotion of joy. So it's actually about being able to access your joy through pressing a point on your body. So I just wanted to clarify the purpose of this so you can really get a really powerful emotion into your body and know why you're doing it and how you can use it in the future. I know, Cynthia, you're getting there, but I just...
No, thank you. Actually, it was where I intended in the beginning to start was things that fire together, wire together.
Yes.
And that term is maybe just a little easier to chunk into your thought process. Things that fire together, wire together. And so if we do it together, we're going to wire it together and our brain is going to be like, oh, this makes sense. I can now grab this anchor and it makes sense. So those are the three things. Peak state, which is what we're talking about. And I don't want to go too much into state because we're doing it more. So the peak is that highest point of emotion. But right before, what's really important to know is right before you're like, oh, and then we had some coffee and that was good. And then we went to my neighbors and that was really fun and I enjoyed that. But the highest point is right before that feeling just starts to dissipate. You want to remove your finger from your anchor.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to use the same one just for today, if that's okay with everyone. Does anyone have a negative connotation with that? Okay, then we're all doing it together and it just makes it easier. You're welcome to use whichever you want, but I think for ease of reference, we'll use this. So peak state, number one. Number two, unique memory. Number three, unique place. So we've got the unique place. Now I need you to remember a specific event that is tied to the emotion of joy. Okay, we're going to just like,
so think about the most joyful time you've ever had, like wherever it was, and like really feel that joy come up and rush through your body. Really allow yourself to feel it, hear it, see what you saw, hear what you heard, feel what you felt. And as you start bringing up that joy and get into that peak state, then you can press that anchor, right, Cynthia?
exactly. So as we tap into that feeling, that memory, and you both said, the people live and then whoever in the reviews and replays, think of that primary learning style that you have, that visual, like go ahead and see it. And you can bring in all the other senses, but start with seeing it. I want you to see that moment where you were like, oh, I'm so excited. It's my friend's first daughter's birthday today, and she is so excited. She told us yesterday we had better reach out to her today because her firstborn, and she was so excited to become a mom. And so that memory for her is full and alive and powerful. And for some people, it was their wedding or for when they released their book. There are so many moments in time where we have peak joy. So I just want you to bring that up and feel it. And I want you to feel it. I want you to see it. I want you to experience it as if you were there right now. And I want you to lock in to your anchor and feel that and feel it and feel it. And before that peak is gone, release. Okay? So that's the process. So we're going to feel it, climb. Right before it gets to the summit, we're going to let go. And we're going to do it a couple of times. Okay? So we're ready? Remember the feeling, feel it, rise it up, dig in, see it happening, See it happening. And as you feel that intensity, go ahead and anchor and feel it and feel it and feel it. And before it releases, release. Okay. And we're going to do it again. You ready? Here it goes. Okay. And feel that feeling, feel that feeling, feel that feeling. And as it's feeling intense and wonderful and powerful, and you know that you have joy. And before it's gone, release. Now, I want you to, I'm sorry, I'm going to say this. Think of something that's not so happy. Think of a moment. Don't go deep into the darkness. Just that maybe when you thought you were going to get first place in an event that you worked really hard at and you didn't even place. Whew, that wasn't so joyful. You still worked hard, but you didn't get what you wanted. I just want you to feel that and notice where it shows up in your body. Just notice. Notice the visual. Is it darker? Is it heavier? Okay, now we're going to go back over here and we're going to find that anchor. This is where we're going to shift from this feeling that isn't really what we want back into state. And so we're going to take a deep breath and we're going to just touch our anchor. And ideally, it works really well for me because I've been anchoring in this spot for a very long time. It'll pop things up. Now,
Positive.
positive things up. We're positively anchoring. We want to release without anchor. We just don't want it. We don't want to feel it inside of us. We don't want to remind ourselves of that because our brain will do it automatically for us anyway. But when we're anchoring, we want a positive space to land. And what's really beautiful about this is when you've practiced enough and when you've anchored enough, and we'll learn about anchoring, stacking further along. So stacking is just taking that one memory of joy and then finding a new memory. I mean, like, oh, I also remember this time when I was really joyful, and I'm going to anchor there too. And then you're going to remember another one, and you're going to anchor there too. And all this joy gets landing right here on this knuckle. So all of that positive, high energy, high vibe excitement gets anchored into a specific spot that you have fired your brain to a memory and wired this touch point. This is somatic, right? This is our body. This is a physical reminder. Making sense? We got thumbs up, things rolling. This is a tough thing to teach in 30 minutes, but it is a simple task. You acquire a memory, you think about it, bring it to peak state. Make sure that memory is very unique and you're placing it in a very unique spot. That's it. 3 steps, 1, 2, 3. And the more you practice, the more you dive in, the more you spend time anchoring, the greater it'll be. And we'll go into Ring of Power in the workshop really, really deep, giving you the opportunity as a quick ring of power within, I don't know if it's in this worksheet or worksheet number 5, but we'll talk about ring of power a little bit, where you can take joy, excitement, confidence, ambition, all the big bigs, and you can put it on a ring. You can take that ring and make it your power ring. And it just gives you that extra boost because some of the things in life we do are a little more challenging and we get a handful of emotions coming at us. We don't even know which ones they are. And we might try old habits and techniques to avoid doing the thing we really want to do. But if we've trained ourselves in a calm state to practice how to elicit, to bring up those states we'd love to be in, those emotional shifts we'd love to have, and we're anchored to them, we can get there instantly. Okay, so a couple questions. Would you like to practice more? Did you have any questions about how this works within you? Did you yourself feel a shift, even just a little bit, when you chose to anchor?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did
Yeah.
you want to talk a little bit about that? What that experience was like for you?
It just it took away the bad feeling I was having, the emotion I was having, and just replaced it with joy. And that it's a good memory.
Yeah, I love that. And now is this the first time you've anchored?
Hmm. Hmm.
Awesome. Love that.
Yeah.
So it was easy, just like I said.
Yep.
Yay. I love that. I love that. Were you able to tap in as well, Tracy?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you feel the shift?
Um, I felt I felt the joy. I didn't really feel the shift because I was more focused on the joy.
You were already there. You were already living in it
Yep.
a little
Yeah.
bit. Well, the good news is you're in VIP and we
Mhm.
can go deeper into feeling one state and shifting into another. And so at the end, and again, you're in VIP, so you're going to get every week. And next week you'll do more, and we'll do more in body scanning and body awareness, and then we'll do more in anchoring and um, state shifting state. And so this trajectory that you're on, we're really going to deepen that. I love that everybody had an opportunity to feel it in this quick little lesson.
Mhm.
And if you've been here, you just grab the workbook. The workbook allows you to really go through this process. So it talks about bringing up a certain emotion, listing a little information about it, bringing up an opposing emotion, listing a little information about it, and then the steps to take in order to practice the new technique of anchoring.
Mhm.
Don, did you have anything
Yeah.
else you
And
want
I
to
will say too, it's just like any other tool. It takes a little bit of practice and a little bit of awareness. But if you find yourself having a fun moment, you're watching a movie, you're laughing with a friend, you're having a glass of wine, like whatever it is, you're thinking about a fun memory, you can hold and recharge your anchor in places of joy, laughter. Orgasm is actually a really good place to re-hold your anchor because it's this ultimate movement of energy. And then when you're not feeling so awesome, you get to resource that to use it to refill you. But just like a glass of water, it has to be refilled because you can use it up, right? So you do want to, as an anchor, you also want to keep refilling it when you're feeling, even when you're feeling like moments of peace, like when you're sitting on your back deck and you're like, right now, I just feel so centered and grounded and peaceful. You can anchor that in as well. So just know that anytime you're really feeling like a strong emotion that is positive for you in any way, anchor that into your space. And then when you're not feeling so awesome, you can use it as a resource to help refill because once again, you're neurologically linking, right?
Yeah.
So we want to neurologically link the positive a little bit more than using it to drain, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to say drain, but it just
Yeah.
does analogy.
And one thing I want to mention is in the beginning, it's really important, I feel, the purity. So anchor joy here to begin with. You can certainly stack other emotions like peace and calm and whatever, but ideally, in order to, if you think about your neural pathways, that's what we're doing is rewiring. If you think about them, we're coming up on 10 o'clock, so I'll make this quick. If you ever see a big, tall field of grass and you walk through it the first time, you lay down a couple of things, you look back and you're like, I can kind of see where I came from. If you circle back on that path and you do it again and again and again, eventually you're going to lay down all of that hay and you can see it from a quarter mile away. You're like, that's the spot right there. That's what we're doing when we're laying down and rewiring our neural pathways. But you have to go through the same spot each time in order to lay that path quickly. And that's why you want to anchor joy here for a season until you know you have it. And you can add stuff, but you can shift for peace to a different knuckle. You can grab your earlobe for confidence and remember confident times and maybe choose 3 places that you're going to start to anchor 3 different emotions you really want to rise up in times of need. I hope this helps. I'm so excited to go into VIP. I'm very, very looking forward to those of you who have signed up for the retreat or are considering signing up for the retreat. Don and I had another session last night, and we came up with a couple more ideas and a little more in-depth way to make this a robust opportunity for those who can attend. All of the information is found through Dawn's primary website, and Dawn is the tech guru here, so she's going to tell you any more information before we hop over to VIP.
Right. For those of you that signed up on Eventbrite, it will have been emailed to you on how to sign up. Remember, the retreat is virtual or in person, as well as when you go to the website, to the unifiedmind.info /rooted-page, you can sign up for all 5 of the courses and get the replays. If you're VIP, they stay permanently. And then you can also check out the retreat there and all further information. So that's that. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thanks, Mom.
Welcome, honey. I love you.
Love you too. I'll see you later.
Thank you, ladies. Bye-bye.
Bye.